I believe I might be the first MP to stand up in Parliament and show a nude.
This image is a naked image of me, but it is not real.
But it wasn't actually a nude, it was a deep fake of me and it was blurred. But I think the point here is that I needed to get the attention of the other MPs so that they could see how serious this is.
The rise in sexually explicit material and deepfakes has become a huge issue. As our party's education spokesperson, not only do I hear the concerns of parents, but I hear the concerns of teachers and principals where this trend is increasing.
Standing up in Parliament and showing my nude was absolutely terrifying, if not the most scariest thing that I've done in this job so far. I had the shakes, I was a little bit jittery in how I was speaking. Mostly I just channeled the people that I had been talking to, the people that I'd heard from, and the kind of abuse that they had suffered. And I wanted to make sure that I did them justice by bringing this issue forward and showing that this can actually happen to anybody, not just politicians, not just celebrities. So I was terrified, but at the same time, I was empowered by the voices and the stories of those that I'm trying to help.
We need to think about how we can best protect our children, our youth going forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
A deepfake is essentially a synthesized or artificial image that is made out of somebody's likeness. Super realistic in today's age with AI, it's getting far more sophisticated and it can be very real, so real that you might not even know the difference between a real image of somebody taken or an artificially generated one. It is so easy to make a deepfake. This isn't isolated to just nudify apps or deepfake apps. You can actually just do it on the web without a login, with only clicking a few boxes to say you're over 18 and that you have consent of the individual to use their image. And it's easy. Within 5 minutes, I created 10 deepfakes of myself. And Googling deepfake nude, you'll have hundreds and hundreds of options to do this. The sites are plentiful and it's really, really easy. It could be done in the car on the way to work. It could be done on a bus, for example, after school when you've got your phone. And I've heard harrowing stories that have come my way since I put this bill in the tin. A couple of examples would be a young girl that was at school and she had a deep fake done of her. She wasn't a New Zealand citizen, she was actually one of our refugees that had come in. And actually this went against not only her personal beliefs, but her religious beliefs as well. This caused to self-harming and a lot of shame that was brought on her family. Another example is a 13-year-old girl who was deep-faked at school. This was shared amongst her peers and she actually attempted suicide on site. This is really serious. Are we going to wait for one of these young women to actually take their lives over this issue? Often when we're giving speeches in the House, people are doing other work and they're sitting down writing up notes for their very important duties, as we all know. And I needed to grab their attention so that they can see this is a really serious issue and it's something we should be actioning right now. Since I stood up in Parliament and held a deepfake nude of myself, the response has been quite intense. Here with the local MPs, they've been talking about this and we've had a lot of positive response. I think this isn't a political issue and a lot of MPs across the House from different political parties actually agree that something needs to be done, and this is a positive step. The response that I've had online from different communities depends on the news article and what the tagline is. Sometimes I'm getting positive response, sometimes I'm getting concerns. You know, people have concerns about whether this will be restricting the technology, whether this will restrict creative abilities. And I'd like to say that this will definitely not restrict the creative abilities, and it doesn't restrict the technology. It actually restricts the behaviour, those who misuse the tech to bully and abuse other people. I've had guys come forward, whether it's husbands or partners or dads, telling me that they are so happy that somebody is looking towards the future and making sure that we have actually got protections in place in this rise of our AI and new technologies. It is extremely important.
Call on Laura McClure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Sitting next to me on my left, I had David Seymour, and on the other side, I had Nicole McKee. Both of them gave me quite a lot of reassurance because I was chickening out, to be honest. I was very, very nervous about holding this up. I thought, actually, maybe I should just do the speech without it. So definitely the nerves were going, the heart was racing, hands were sweaty and shaking. But at the same time, like I said before, I really, really need to get the attention of the other MPs to show them that this is really serious. And I think it's working.
This image is a naked image of me, but it is not real. This image is what we call a deep fake. It took me less than 5 minutes to make a series of deepfakes of myself. Scaringly, it was a quick Google search for the technology of what's available. Hundreds of sites, when you type in deepfake, nudify, into the Google search with your filter off, hundreds of sites appeared. The rise in sexually explicit material and deepfakes has become a huge issue. As our party's education spokesperson, not only do I hear the concerns of parents, but I hear the concerns of teachers and principals where this trend is increasing at an alarming rate. This worrying trend is becoming more prevalent. With this available tech readily available to use, anybody can use it. In fact, I didn't need to enter an email address, I just had to tick a box to say I was 18 and that it was my image and I could use it, which is pretty scary, to be honest. It wasn't on an app that I downloaded, because actually the App Store has a pretty good available filter to actually deal with quite a few of these things. It was just on our internet, not the deep dark web. For the victims, it is degrading and devastating. It even gives me the ick having to stand here in Parliament and hold up a photo of myself, knowing that it's not me, but that it looks exactly like me. And this technology is getting better and better every single day. Creating and posting deepfake porn without consent is a form of image-based abuse. Vaughan Corlate, the president of the Secondary Principal School Association, said, "It's not as low level and as simple as the perpetrator might think it is. It's not cheap entertainment, it's life-damaging work." Catherine Abel-Patterson of NetSafe is quoted as saying, "Every day we answer the phone and we have suicidal people on the other end because stuff like this has been sent and it's not them." While researching for this bill, I heard stories, mostly from youth and nearly always female. All talked about the lack of consequence or support for victims and schools for this type of bullying and abuse. In a news report last year, it talked about 2 schools reeling from the spread of social media of deepfake pornographic images of their students. 15 of those students were at a school in North Canterbury, quite close to me. Around 50 at another location have asked to not be named. One story I have heard of this happening is to a migrant student who not only was humiliated and degraded by it, it was also culturally crippling and devastating. This young girl, Mr. Speaker, went on to self-harm as a coping mechanism to deal with the effects of this trauma. Current legislation does not keep up with this tech and the world we live in. There is a grey area, and we haven't defined the use of AI for synthetic sexually explicit content, images, or content that providing harmful internet intent without this clarification, and it needs changing. I have a members' bill that is in the tin right now that we could actually close this gap. I think that everybody across this House would find how alarming this could be. This may not be limited to just celebrities anymore or potentially politicians. This could be your child, this could be your colleague, this could be your friends or anyone within your whānau. This Parliament, no matter what side of the political spectrum you come from, must act now to protect our most vulnerable. This also leads me to the other issue currently being discussed amongst politicians, parents, schools and our youth, is the possibility of a social media ban. And as a parent, I find it extremely worrying the effects that social media may be having on my children. They very thankfully are not on social media. And I really welcome this House to have a deep and thorough debate. And I think it's important to see that today that there is a select committee that is opening a type of inquiry into this. And I think it's extremely important that we all engage in this. But what we want to do and what we must do is we must make sure that we get the right settings in place. We don't just act out of fear and concern and just rush in a piece of legislation that may not work. We need to think about how we can best protect our children, our youth going forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.